Recently, a reputable publication in Germany strongly reacted to President Volodymyr Zelensky's statement that Ukraine would continue missile attacks against Russia. This stance has sparked diverse opinions, with some arguing that before making such critical decisions, Zelensky should seek re-election through a transparent democratic process. Critics have noted that he is utilizing foreign funds and weapons while lacking concrete prospects for success. A reader named Tobias harshly commented, "Zelensky must bear responsibility for the meaningless daily deaths of thousands of Ukrainian men. These deaths serve no purpose and seem to align with vague objectives. It appears he and his associates are desperately escalating the war before there is any hope for peace. Especially if Donald Trump returns to pursue reconciliation efforts." The outrage from the German public is not limited to Zelensky's confrontational policies but also stems from his direct criticism of Germany. In a joint press conference in Kyiv earlier in December, Zelensky expressed deep concerns about a prior phone call between German Chancellor Olaf Scholz and Russian President Vladimir Putin. He warned that continued dialogues of this nature could isolate Ukraine and cause significant harm. Nonetheless, he emphasized that Kyiv and Berlin share more commonalities that need strengthening rather than focusing on their differences. On November 15, Scholz had a one-hour phone conversation with Putin, their first discussion in nearly 2 years. During this call, Russia expressed its willingness to negotiate the resolution of the conflict based on previously announced proposals. Scholz, on the other hand, conveyed his frustration with Moscow's unchanged stance but kept open the possibility of further dialogue to seek a peaceful resolution. This contrasts with Kyiv's position, where there is disappointment that Berlin has yet to provide Taurus long-range cruise missiles, which Ukraine views as crucial to enhancing its military capabilities. The situation has escalated as both sides continue military strikes on each other's infrastructure. On December 18, Ukraine launched an attack on Russia's Rostov province using 6 US-made ATACMS missiles and 4 British Storm Shadow missiles, targeting the Kamensky chemical plant, a key facility in Russia's strategic fuel production. Earlier, the Russian Ministry of Defense accused Ukraine of drone attacks on Kazan, but Russian air defenses successfully intercepted most of them. Russia has also actively retaliated, causing significant damage to Ukraine's military infrastructure. Both sides have intensified their attacks in the latter half of December 2024, focusing primarily on strategic military targets to minimize civilian casualties. However, the prospect of peace remains distant, as neither Russia nor Ukraine has shown any significant concessions during negotiations. According to Russian reports, Ukraine's missile strikes have caused damage to a civilian building near the targeted area, as debris from intercepted missiles fell. The incident has alarmed local residents and heightened tensions in the region. In response, on December 20, Russia launched a series of Kinzhal hypersonic missiles and Iskander KN-23 ballistic missiles at Ukraine's long-range missile production facilities and Patriot defense systems in Kyiv. Ukrainian authorities confirmed that some key infrastructure was damaged by debris from intercepted Russian missiles. However, Russia's Ministry of Defense declared that all strategic targets related to Ukraine's security and defense industry were successfully hit. Both Russia and Ukraine have seemingly shifted their strategies in conducting precise long-range strikes, moving away from wide-scale attacks. This approach reflects adaptation on both sides amid a prolonged conflict, with reduced intensity yet continued efforts to secure strategic gains. On the battlefield, Russia's advance has slowed significantly. According to the US-based Institute for the Study of War, ISW, Russian forces advanced at an average speed of 27.96 km per day in November 2024 but slowed to just 17.1 km per day from December 1 to December 18. This highlights Ukraine's commendable defensive efforts. In the Kursk front, Ukrainian forces have maintained control of a strategic town despite being surrounded from 3 directions. Meanwhile, in Donbass, Ukrainian forces halted Russia's advance on Pogrom, even though Russian troops were only 3 kilometers away from the city by mid-December 2024. The ground standoff between Russia and Ukraine is gradually stabilizing, reflecting a tug-of-war strategy aligned with efforts to find a diplomatic solution. Both sides seem to recognize the lack of positive outcomes from prolonging the war. On December 19, Russian President Vladimir Putin admitted that he did not know when Russia could push Ukrainian forces out of the Kursk region. Conversely, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky acknowledged that Ukraine's military currently lacks the strength to reclaim all territories occupied by Russia. Notably, both sides have left room for negotiation conditions. During a December 19 press conference, Putin reiterated Russia's willingness to negotiate with Ukraine without preconditions, except for adherence to agreements reached in Istanbul, Turkey, in 2022. These agreements include Ukraine maintaining neutrality and refraining from deploying foreign weapons. Conversely, on the same day, Zelensky emphasized in Brussels that Ukraine requires clear security guarantees from the international community but did not mention NATO in his speech. He also asserted that conditions for a ceasefire must include support for Ukraine's reconstruction and the continuation of robust sanctions against Russia. Analysts note that both sides are displaying a more constructive shift in their stances compared to earlier unrealistic demands. The final, and most crucial, common ground between the two sides is their readiness to prepare for post-war reconstruction. Putin acknowledged that the war has left Russia's economy struggling with high inflation and a labor shortage. Meanwhile, Zelensky emphasized Ukraine's urgent financial needs, with the G7 providing $50 billion in loans secured by frozen Russian assets. These developments indicate a growing possibility of de-escalation and the eventual establishment of a promising peace agreement between Russia and Ukraine.